Good evening, everyone. You're watching New World News Network. I'm Jamie Starr, and tonight I'm going to get into some propaganda involving Donald Trump. Basically, I recommend this is going to just be me kind of giving my insights and stuff, but I recommend everyone check out the video, The Untruth by Stefan Molyneux. It's a weird spelling on that. There's an X in there for anyone who's actually going to try to look that up. But it's a really good video where it basically shows the media being like the Onion now, where he'll say one thing and they just go completely left field with it, make a broad generalization to try to ridicule him. My overall opinion on Trump, I was very nervous at first when he first got involved in the race, because all I could think is, like, after Obama, you're going to need to follow up with this kind of like a cult of personality, larger than life persona, because Obama, in his ads and magazine covers and newspapers, he was shown with halos and the sun glow around his head, making him seem like religious iconography. You've seen him in the Shiva or pose, I believe, on the Newsweek, balancing things with multiple arms. So they constantly made him out to be this religious figure. And you also had Jamie Foxx at the BET Awards refer to our Lord and Savior, Barack Obama. So he's been made out to be larger than life. So I knew there had to be a follow-up like that. And then it looked like it was going to be Hillary versus Jeb for a while, and then out comes Trump. So I was very nervous about it, and then especially hearing all the things from the media. But if you actually listen to him, he's not saying anything too crazy. It's that the world's crazy. There's such a season, like it is. I hope it's not a season, but I would say season of political correctness, just the overall environment. Obama swearing the economy is good, and, saying, oh, well, if people disbelieve this, all of these points that, Obama's whole thing was change we can believe in, and there's such a con game going on everyone that's like, it really is a matter of belief, like the idea that without guns we would be safer, or that, government can take care of everything and has an endless supply of money. Like, people have no idea that the Fed sits over the government and how the whole thing is structured. And now it's a point where, you have Bernie Sanders picking up traction with socialism, and if anything, that just speaks volumes to the failure in our school systems. But so Trump comes out, I start hearing him mention little things, the little jab at Hillary over Bill being a rapist. He's made remarks about the trade deals with China, and that's the thing. People think Sanders is going to help out the economy with more education when we have a big gap between people with degrees and people getting jobs for those degrees, where if you're going to have joblessness like this, and then you have education being what it is, and then you mandate these classes where kids are downloaded with this gender studies, feminism, critical theory, cultural Marxist viewpoint on everything at these liberal colleges, it's literally just a mind control operation. It's not anything educating-wise, because people are just coming out crazy and seeing the world through this lens where, they only see things in terms of oppressor and oppressed. If there is, if gay people are oppressed, heterosexuals must be oppressing them. If women are not doing something to 100%, men must be oppressing them. They don't see anything in between. Everything is either like they're a hammer and they just need nails, and it's you're either a tool in their repertoire that's part of the cause, or you're an obstacle that needs to get run over. No one is neutral. It's really, really warped way of looking at things. So, and that's the thing, you're ending up with generations of people. The Young Turks, that's their common ground between all of them. They all just see things in that cultural Marxist viewpoint. So anyway, Trump would start saying things, mention things about 9/11 truth, Hillary, all of these things. So he hasn't said anything. All of it seems very reasonable to me. The cult of personality and it following a broader timeline is what worries me. I noticed Rand dropped out. I think if him and Rand teamed up, the thing that sells me on him is mainly the fact that you had Saudi princes or diplomats or something coming out saying he can't win. I mean, they've been saying he can't win, he's going to stop, he can't win for any number of reasons. And it's this, it's again at a point where I think it's a mind control trick where they think if they repeat it enough times, it'll become true. Because it's what happened with Ron Paul before, and it's kind of what's going on with Rand. Rand, I think him taking the jabs he did at Trump, rather, when everyone should have been going after Hillary and he should have just been selling on his policies because his policies are strong enough. I'd like to see Rand as the vice p, Trump as the president, because then you could have Trump sell America on Rand's policies, and between his business ability and Rand's idea of free market economics, it'd work out very well. So I was worried about the overall personality. Saudi princes or whatever dislike him. Britain and London specifically, there are only 3 city-states in the world. There's Washington, D.C., which is the military control of the world. There is London, which is the economic control. And then there's Rome, which is the spiritual control. Britain is talking about banning Trump, and with him being what he is, it's basically imposing sanctions. So, and I saw these weird articles pop up, I don't know if they were true, where it said the Queen came out and said if Trump wins, she's going to consider taking back America as a colony, which militarily, England doesn't do anything without us, basically, and they're just a little island. I'm pretty sure we could just wipe them off the map real quick. So that would be a bad idea if it were true, but they still were having hearings about trying to impose sanctions on him, so he's obviously a threat. He's a threat to the Democrats, a threat to the Republicans. The vaccines remark, that's another thing. When he came out talking about vaccines, I think that's part because the companies that put out vaccines donate lots of money to the media and both parties. And the thing we have to realize is that these elections are like horse betting. Like, I'm surprised there hasn't been assassination attempts at this rate, because you have hundreds of millions of dollars invested into everyone from Cruz, Rubio, Jeb, Hillary. All of these people are getting tons of money from all over the place. Sanders is getting it from unions and whatnot. And if they all end up losing their money, all these bankers and Time Warner and Google and, whoever, they're going to lose their shit. I mean, maybe they have enough that they can just, it's like betting at a casino to them. But either way, I think they're going to lose their shit if he does end up winning, and they're going to do whatever they can to stop it. So anyway, let's get into some stuff. Because I'm a musician, I wanted to pick this one first. And it's
pop star Adele has issued a statement to distance herself from Donald Trump after he used her music at his rallies. The Republican presidential candidate, whose slogan is "Make America Great Again," has recently been playing Adele's hit "Rolling in the Deep" as his warm-up music. Adele has not given permission for her music to be used for any political campaigning, her spokesman confirmed. It is not the first time Trump has been criticized for appropriating pop songs. Lawyers for Aerosmith star Steve.
Isn't that funny? Appropriating songs. I was thinking about appropriation today, and the thing with the Halloween costumes, you can't dress as a geisha girl or an Indian, that's cultural appropriation. Or people saying, you can't eat Chinese food because that's racist and it's cultural appropriation. I wonder if that's going to cause them to stop teaching foreign languages in schools, because I think that's when it would become obvious how fucking backwards and racist this truly is, if we were to go to schools and be like, oh no, you little black and white children, you can't learn Spanish anymore because you'd be culturally appropriating. Oh, you Hispanic kids, you can't take a French class because that would be cultural appropriation. And you can't even learn English because now you're trying to appropriate our culture. Then again, our culture would probably still be up for grabs. That's the one they hate the most. They're trying to demolish that. So they would definitely, everyone could still learn English, but the Spanish kids couldn't learn French, and the black and white kids couldn't learn Spanish because it's all cultural appropriation. So, let's
Tyler
continue.
sent Trump's campaign a cease and desist letter last year, after the politician played the band's hit single Dream On at numerous rallies around the U.S. The letter said Trump's use of the song gave a false impression he endorsed Mr. Trump's presidential bid. Pop star Adele.
Don't you miss the day and age when they had tapes, and then you bought a radio with 2 tape decks, and you could put one in, and you could copy it for a friend and give it to them, and you didn't really have to worry so much that, like, a SWAT team might kick down your door and try to fine you for $50,000, and then, of course, it went to CDs. They started putting more money into it. Now it's online. We already know the NSA, all of that, Napster, things, servers pop up, then they get shut down. It's so crazy. The idea, even as a musician, but the idea of royalties and these publishing agencies and all of this and the money that goes into it, because I see articles like this one where it's all about how bars have to get licenses to play certain songs, otherwise they will have to worry about getting fees and fines from ASCAP. Here you see a Seattle restaurant was playing songs which each distribute the rights to millions of songs, have sued more than 24 restaurants for infringement. These violations can be costly. One contentious case from a couple years ago involved Seattle restaurant Ibiza, which had not paid to use ASCAP's music. The rights managers asked the restaurant to pay a fee of $30,000 as remuneration. I mean, it's so crazy talking about the amount of money, because you can't just buy a song and play it wherever the fuck you please. Like, it cracks me up when you read things like this and you're like, oh yeah, this must be what a free society looks like. The idea that you can buy a piece of music and who you play it around, where at, what's going on while it's being played, all of that makes a difference. And you might owe the asshole that wrote it some extra cash if you're deciding to play it. Like, it's fucking crazy. And you wonder why people just download the shit and have complete disregard because of shit like this. You don't want to appreciate it. It's a bunch of fucking sellouts making music, and most of it's about shit that the listener will never be able to afford, trying to keep people in a fucking toxic ass mindset. And then they do greedy ass shit like this. You're all overpaid anyway. So, now the next bunch of these are going to be with Trump's spokesperson, who was doing a lot of the media interviews, and some of these commentators just make themselves ridiculous. Some of these I watched earlier, some of them I haven't seen at all, so you'll be seeing my first reactions to them.
And Katrina Pearson, she is the national spokesperson for the Trump campaign. Katrina, we start with you. It seems that this is a done deal. He will not be at the debate tonight. Can you confirm that, and what do you see to be the upside of this?
Well, yes, I can confirm that. Good morning. This is really more about the respect that Mr. Trump has been given, particularly by Fox News. Everyone saw the statement that came out. It was extremely unprofessional. Mr. Trump has been the frontrunner of the Republican Party in this race since he entered in June. And it was extremely disrespectful. And it's not just about Mr. Trump. It's about that 40% of the base that is supporting him nationwide. The upside to this is now Mr. Trump can focus on doing something he's been wanting to do for a very long time, and that is to hold an event for veterans.
Is that what this is about, Ben Ferguson, finding a way to raise money for veterans? I saw you shaking your head and smiling, non-smile. What is your point?
Yeah, look, this is a sick and vile move by a guy that loves to throw those words around, Donald Trump, to use wounded warriors and their true battle scars to his political advantage. I would say this to Katrina.
I would think that all of these asshole presidents send, and this is one of the crazy things, is they are ridiculing Trump at a level not seen ever before in politics. Like, as far as misrepresenting him and everything like that. I'm surprised he hasn't sued all of these companies. So they're just going at a level you never seen before, and then these assholes, they never want to compare him to the people that are in office already. Because first of all, he's not a politician. He hasn't, sent people off to war yet. So people being like, oh, he's militant, this, and that. Look at the last fucking assholes we've had for the job. Clinton, Bush, and Obama. Like, these guys are using drones and crazy shit. Donald Trump hasn't done anything except build some buildings and some golf courses. But people have this mindset, like I've seen it online, where people will be talking, and you will see them like talk about business, and in parentheses put evil, like as if business and trade is the root of all evil. Like, people have gotten this money is the root of all evil and don't realize it's the love of money is the root of all evil. What's evil is putting things like money and these rigid belief sets before your basic humanity, like being a hostile asshole to everyone, like these social justice warriors are, constantly wanting to look down on people and be bullies. And that's one of the things. It's so nuts that we have campaigns going on across the nation for like little kids about how bullying is bad, and all they're seeing is like bullies all over the place. As far as your leaders, your politicians and all of that, they're all overly aggressive and authoritarian. So, I mean, to be making these claims about someone who has done nothing compared to our current state, I mean, it's like the pot calling the kettle black, and people don't even want to notice that the kettle is already black.
I'm not dumb enough to buy that this is about the veterans, because Donald Trump has...
But he did raise money for them. $5 million, I believe.
...has never held an event for veterans on his campaign to help and support them with raising money. He uses them for cover now. You have veterans that aren't able to walk. You have veterans that have lost limbs. And because you don't like someone that says something about you at Fox, you then decide to use them. Now remember, this is a guy who said John McCain is not a hero, a war hero, or a war veteran because he got captured, and I don't like people that get captured. Donald Trump also tried to kick veterans who had special permits to sell things to make a living in New York City away from his hotels multiple times because he said they were a nuisance and were bad for his properties. So for him to come out now in a self-righteous way and to say, I'm going to stand up for veterans and I'm going to do an event that I haven't had time to do until it was convenient for him tonight. Many veterans are going to be turned off by this. Many have said that they think this is disgusting. They went and fought for their country, and now Donald Trump uses them as political pawns. I'm sorry, but I can't support it, and it's sick.
All right, the head of the IAVA, Katrina, just so you know, it's not just Ferguson. The head of the IAVA, Paul Rykoff, a very respected guy in that community, says we're not going to take any donations from Trump's event. We need strong policies from a candidate. That's what we need, you know, not this type of situation to be used as a pawn. Your response?
Well, yeah, and it's not, in fact, just about veterans, Ben, and I think you know this more than anyone. This is not the first time that Mr. Trump has talked about helping veterans. And you should see the veterans that come out to his events that do support him. This event sold out in less than 2 hours. There are a lot of people that want to do this, and it's not just the reason or an excuse for that matter. The concept was, if I'm not going to do the debate, then I'm going to do something, and that's what he wanted to do. More importantly, this isn't just about Mr. Trump. This is about the 40% of his base that is constantly offended on a daily basis for pundits like Ben, who tell everyone that they shouldn't be supporting Trump, and here are the reasons why. Everyone has their own life experience. There are major issues across the world, and we have an American political system where a news network can mock a presidential candidate who is leading in the Republican Party, who also has connections to other campaigns as well as policies on the Hill. That's what this is about.
If you're going to act like that, if Donald Trump really gets this hurt emotionally over a statement put out by Fox News, he should read his own Twitter feed.
It's not emotional.
Now, if you look at the ratings, yeah, and here's the thing, because Trump, with what he does business-wise and everything, you have to realize he's using strategy. Like, people, the people, Fox putting out this narrative understands that who they're talking to only function at a certain level. So that's where they're selling this, oh, he's just using them, it's just an excuse. Megyn Kelly hurt his feelings. Like, do you honestly think that he gives that much of a shit about Megyn Kelly? Like, who is she to him? No one. No one watches her show, and that's the thing. Trump took the media that night, took America's viewership towards basic television because people weren't watching that debate. They were watching his rallies. So he basically just said, okay, I know that Fox is going to be unbiased. The only thing they can do is hurt me at this point. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this fucking whole thing and I'm just going to put it in a headlock real quick. And I'm going to have everyone watching just me, and fuck those other guys. And that's what happened. The viewership on his event got much higher ratings. He raised some money for some veterans. That was the real problem, is he kept going to the networks and saying, because I'm on this, and your ratings are going through the roof because no one's watching your programs otherwise, unless if there's a debate I'm on, I want X amount of dollars, and I want it donated to these organizations. He wasn't trying to keep a cent of it for himself. And immediately that started the first issue, where it was, oh, Trump's asking money for the debates. Yeah, because he knows the sponsors are paying you guys, and you guys should do something good with the money. So this is all strategy and warfare. Trump, I mean, the media is attacking him every day with these radical statements. To think it's not in his best interest to strike back, and that's what it should be viewed as, is it wasn't, oh, Trump is running scared from Megyn Kelly. That is the most childish idea possible. Like, the idea that the man running for the leader of the free world, because, I mean, again, he has got to worry about terror threats, like assassination threats. I'd be a little more concerned about Britain running these sanctions and all the shit. You really think Megyn Kelly, like, is going to elicit some sort of response? But besides that, you know how she would have acted, and he would have had to defend himself, and there's no good that could have came from it. But good came from his event, and that's, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
3 or 4 tweets on average of what Trump puts out every day. The point is this. He can dish it. He cannot take it. And as soon as he gets in trouble with anybody he doesn't like, as soon as someone doesn't say, I'm obsessed with Donald Trump, I love Donald Trump, he says they're idiotic, they're stupid, they're moronic. The same way he's treated veterans that were around his buildings by trying to kick them away from trying to make a living, the same way that you guys have never done a event to support the veterans, to raise money for them in your entire...
Now, I would bet, first of all, if it was at his building, I doubt he was even there. I doubt he even made that call. There was probably a security person there being like, some guy's panhandling something out in front of the building, and they probably just said, okay, let's go over to him and say, mister, you can't be around here, this is private property, you have to leave. I mean, they probably didn't investigate on him and be like, sir, have you ever served our armed forces? What are you doing with these? Oh, you're opening a store on our front stoop. Like, in what reality?
Entire campaign until tonight, when it was politically an opportunity for you to come out and say, we're going to save the world and our veterans that we love. You never did it beforehand, which means you didn't believe in it beforehand. It's only now because you got in trouble and you said, we're not showing up with Donald Trump and we'll use veterans.
Katrina?
Then you haven't been paying attention to the Trump campaign. But I'll also say this.
Have you ever had a fundraiser for the
business decision? This is a business decision.
It's a business
These networks
decision.
spend tens of millions of dollars on Donald Trump and his viewers. This is what this is about as well.
Are you running for president or are you running a business?
Ben, are you going to let me respond? Are you going to let me respond, Ben?
Katrina, go ahead.
This is about This is about the viewerships on Fox News, where Fox News has been very hostile towards him. This debate was also in conjunction with the NRO, which everyone saw the Against Trump piece. So why are you going to trash the Republican frontrunner and then invite him on to do your debate and make you tens of millions of dollars, which you won't give any proceeds
Again,
to
are you
any
running for
charity
president, or is it all
that
about the money? Because I think this is important for voters, Katrina. You're acting as if he's not running for president.
Now, do you hear this? It's all about the money. Yeah, and because he's going to have people watch his event. It's not as if they are on it with a gun to their back of their heads going to watch the Republican event, and he gave the money away. He didn't keep it, so, and he's the one here saying, oh, it's only when it's convenient. It's only when it's, no, he had been trying to push that on the networks for months.
He's not running business.
Hold on, Katrina, let him respond now. You made your point. Ben, respond.
Katrina, you're acting as if Donald Trump is somehow running a business here. Which one is it? Is he running for president and truly wanting to fix this country? Or is everything about money? Because everything you just said was about the money. It's like, how dare somebody make cash off of Donald Trump? If you want to go back into private business, then go sell clothes. That's fine with me. Go out there and attack the veterans who are selling things around your buildings where you say they are a nuisance. But don't act like you're holier than thou and somehow doing this for the greater good when all you're talking about is how much money people are going to make tonight. I want someone that's running for president that's not worried about their own personal finances, and that's your talking point. Donald Trump is making other people money.
That's
well,
not
then
his,
stop
no,
running for president.
All right, Ben. Katrina, go ahead, respond.
Mr. Trump is running for president. Mr. Trump is running for president. Fox News is running a business. Mr. Trump has been the most accessible candidate than all of the candidates. He's answered all the questions. He's had the most town halls. He's made the most appearances in the media. He's the one out there going to the people. He's had the most rallies, the most people attending those campaigns. This is running for president. You have to make tough decisions.
Well,
and when someone wants to exploit
then you might not want to talk about how much money people are making.
Your 40% of the supporters of the Republican primary.
Katrina,
that's who we're talking about.
Katrina,
here.
in terms of the state of play here, it seemed that Bill O'Reilly last night on the Fox News channel was very solicitous of Donald Trump and trying to convince him to rethink this situation. Do you know if Mr. Ailes or indeed Mr. Murdoch have one or both reached out to Donald Trump to try to change this?
No, not to my knowledge. I do not know that if there has been any phone calls made. Mr. Trump has been very clear about his expectations with regards to Fox News and attending the debate. He's definitely excited about the event that we're going to have tonight in conjunction with the debate. And moving forward, Mr. Trump will plan on attending other debates. But this is nothing different than the RNC, who pulled out of a debate because the network was being dishonest and unfair. This is the exact same thing.
Let me ask you this, though, Katrina. Is this something we can expect to be repeated going forward? Like if the next time I interview Mr. Trump, he doesn't like something, does that mean that there's going to be a boycott of CNN? There'll be a boycott of our next town hall or our debate? Is this a new tactic or is this a one-time thing?
Well, I think Mr. Trump comes on CNN all the time, and he does all of the shows and takes all of your questions, whether they're fair or not. This is different. This is a debate where the network was constantly disparaging him and his supporters, by the way. We keep leaving that out. 40% of the base is supporting Mr. Trump, and they are disparaged on a daily basis.
Right. Katrina, Ben, we're going to leave it there.
I got to say this. Let's be clear, though. I got to say one thing. The question that Donald Trump is so upset about from Megyn Kelly was Megyn Kelly quoting his own words. If that is now an unfair question, then the only person Donald Trump should be blaming is Donald Trump for that. She was literally quoting his own words. So if I go back and I bring up a quote that Donald Trump said, and he doesn't like his own words, I'm now banished from the campaign?
That's the question, but we have the rebuttal as well. Look, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate.
All right. So, yeah, like I said, that wasn't about Megyn Kelly. They want you to believe that because they want you to think it's petty, and then you'll have this idea, well, Trump doesn't like women because Megyn Kelly is every woman. It's that Whitney Houston song.
Attention about your past with Ted Cruz. We can put on screen, I think, the Mediaite headline and one of your past comments about Ted Cruz. You used to work for him, then you switched sides, and a lot of people take exception to that. What do you say to them?
Well, first, I've never worked for Senator Ted Cruz. I did volunteer. I'm here in Texas, and I'm happy to have him as my senator. But again, this is a presidential race. And here in Texas, if you look at my 7 years of history of grassroots work, immigration is my #1 priority. And it has been very clear that Donald Trump's immigration policy is the best and also the best for Texas.
I understand you pivot from Cruz to Trump, but when you said Cruz was going to be the next president, isn't that...
See, and that's the thing. People on the left, because they're in a cult, they're not free-thinking. There's no diversity in their party. They're all dead on, same things. Free education, no guns. Free education, no guns. Free healthcare, and none of it's free. Steal from the rich, steal from the rich, steal from the rich, and give it to everyone else. Like, in a bad way. I'm going to do a whole video on that where I'm going to break down my socialist dream, and I'm going to show everyone how much better it would be and how sensible you actually could do things. I mean, fuck, 40 acres and a mule is more realistic as a come up than the shit they have people caught in. So I'm going to do an upcoming video on that. But like I said, this woman doing a completely reasonable thing. It shows that there's there's a light bulb going off up there where she's looking around and she's saying, okay, I got all these options on the board. I like this guy. He was my guy. But now this guy's saying something even better. So I'm going to rock with him. That makes sense. These guys and their cult, they just go with whatever. And they think it's a bad thing to change who you support based on a better option. And that's the big problem. People are unwilling to change.
An example of the kind of, commentary in the media and social media that people just don't trust anymore?
Well, no, not necessarily, because this was long before Donald Trump entered the race. Senator Cruz was the first one out, so I was definitely supporting my senator. But once Donald Trump entered in June and put out his immigration policy, you saw a lot of conservatives come out and support Donald Trump. We've seen Sarah Palin and people like Amy Kramer, all who supported Senator Cruz in his Senate run but are now supporting Donald Trump for president.
Mm-hmm. And your comment from 2012 has gotten a lot of attention this weekend. You tweeted about Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. You tweeted Obama's father was from Africa. You said, are there any pure breeds left? Do you regret that? Would you like to retract that?
No, not at all. Look, these tweets, I'm an activist, and I am a half-breed. I'm always getting called a half-breed. And on Twitter, when you're fighting with liberals and even establishment, you go back at them in the same silliness they're giving you. So I myself am a half-breed.
You're telling me that was just silliness?
Absolutely.
All right, I'll take your word about that.
This is the thing, Brian. This is the thing. We have entered silly season. Donald Trump is up in the polls again. There's desperate campaigns out there. They can't take him down, so they try to take down the people that are around him. And we're just not going to get distracted by all that nonsense.
I don't know about entered. I think we've been in silly season for a while. But let me turn to the next debate.
And that guy's right. It's been silly season for a while. This is like a science fiction dystopia. Road to the Hunger Games.
Trump campaign national spokesperson Katrina Pearson joining us from Dallas. Katrina, thanks for taking the time again today.
Thank you, Jim.
So, Mr. Trump attacking President Clinton this morning for his affair with Monica Lewinsky, also mentioned Paula Jones. President Clinton, though, is not running for office. His wife is. Why is that attack, why is that affair fair game?
Well, I don't necessarily call it an attack. It's more of a response to Hillary Clinton bringing up sexism, which is what she planned.
Now this, I think I downloaded it. Yeah, this is a video. The caption on this video is Donald Trump's spokeswoman wears bullet necklace. And that's how crazy these leftists are with their anti-gun nonsense, is they think that necklace is going to fly off her neck and kill someone. It's like that Eric Holder quote, we have to brainwash people to think about guns in a vastly different way. And I mean, these are the same people that will be in Hot Topic and buying their 6-year-old a Skull and Crossbones shirt and thinking it's cute, or, some shit like that, where they are a death culture. Killing babies is cool with them, but a bullet necklace, So.
wants to do on any Republican that's running against her next year, and I think it is fair game. We're talking about a previous president, a president that has many issues with women. So if Hillary Clinton wants to run with this war on women tactic and calling Mr. Trump a sexist, he's going to defend himself.
Well, explain to me exactly how Hillary Clinton is playing the woman's card. We hear that from Mr. Trump all the time. Explain to me what exactly he means by that.
Well, she called him a sexist outright, number one. And number two, she did it to Bernie Sanders when he talked about people yelling loudly. And she says, well, when a woman speaks, they call it yelling loudly. She's been playing that game since the very beginning, Jim.
But why is that playing the women's card? You know, he has made comments, as you know, that many women have taken as offensive, whether we're talking about the comments about Carly Fiorina's face and others. Why is that a politically motivated response? A lot of women who aren't politicians have said the same thing.
Well, for two reasons. The first reason is Hillary Clinton knows Mr. Trump and knows that he's not a sexist or a racist or a bigot, but yet she still launches those attacks against him. But secondly, he hasn't been sexist and trying to silence women. He speaks his mind and speaks the truth. And if she wants to call that sexism, she's going to have to defend her own reasons for helping her husband hide blatant sexism.
You say Mrs. Clinton knows Mr. Trump well, and this is well documented. They've had a lot of interactions, including at least one wedding attended together. BuzzFeed News just found this blog post from Donald Trump in 2008. We'll put that up on the screen. Writing on his Trump University site, Trump said, quote, "I know Hillary, and I think she'd make..."
These guys, they continue, I mean, because they want to get everyone thinking, you know, again, it's a mind control op, but there isn't a shred of honesty going on here. They don't see, because none of them have ever done anything with their lives. They've never worked for themselves. They've never ran a business. They've been in the machine from cradle to grave. They went through school, they got out of school, and they went right into this. They lived in a little box apartment. They eventually worked their way up through the network, whatever. Half of them are probably related to someone. They don't understand, and you would think they would because they are stuck in a high school mentality. But this is a businessman being nice to whoever he has to that will work out best for his business. Simple as that. It's not that deep. They want to make it deep, but it's not that deep. Why is he saying what he's saying now? Because now he's running for president. I mean, it's basic logic. But again, they're not trying to be honest whatsoever. They're trying to mind control.
A great president or vice president. So what's changed since 2008?
Well, I think a lot's changed since 2008. Look at all the Obama supporters that are now running away from the Democrat Party. Time changes everything, Jim, and that's why we're in this position today. We see people looking for alternatives on both sides of the aisle.
But what specifically changed in Donald Trump's appraisal of Hillary Clinton? If he says in 2008 she'd make a great president, and now, of course, he's saying something very different.
Well, if you look at what he's been saying about her now, she's been an absolute disaster. She has proven that she can't handle her job as Secretary of State. That was a failure on a number of issues. But she just really doesn't have anything that she could run on as an accomplishment. She wants to run on old policies. She doesn't want to talk about anything new or anything that she personally has.
She wants to run on vaginas.
To deal with. On top of the fact that she's under investigation by the FBI for sharing national secrets. I mean, this is absurd. A lot of things have changed since 2008.
Let's talk about where Donald Trump has been directing his attention in the last week or so. We here have noticed a change where Hillary Clinton has popped up more and more often. In fact, I'll show you this. We did a word cloud of his tweets just in the last week. The bigger words are the ones he's used most commonly. And what do you see right in the middle there? Certainly Hillary, but also Jeb Bush. Not to mention thank and poll and great and so on and make America great
and
again.
CNN.
And CNN. There you go. We got our plug. But the two biggest, Jeb Bush and Hillary Clinton. Why the focus on them right now?
Well, I think both for the last few years, we've all been told that this is going to be a Clinton-Bush matchup all over again.
And that's what we should all thank Trump for. I mean, and Bernie Sanders, too. As much as I think he's batshit crazy, and it's an awful idea, I mean, at least there were these, and it's been entertaining. It's let me realize how dumb so many people are, and so how blinded they are of the past, because they don't realize that socialism is Nazism and that only sadness comes with that. So God bless them for making it so it wasn't Hillary versus Jeb.
Turns out that's not going to be the case. You know, Jeb Bush was the one out there to beat at the beginning. Donald Trump came in and smacked him down, and now it's going to be up against Hillary Clinton. We feel very confident Mr. Trump is going to be the nominee, and he wants to focus on the future.
So why focus on Jeb Bush if he's not a player?
Well, most of it's responding to Jeb Bush at this point. But beforehand, when Mr. Trump entered the race, it was all about Jeb Bush. You're talking about people in the party telling him he needs to get out of the race, telling him he's not a Republican. He's the one that's been bullied this whole time, not Hillary Clinton.
Let's talk about spending now, because we heard Donald Trump just moments ago saying he's going to spend big in Iowa and New Hampshire, his own money, something that he hasn't done much of so far in this campaign. Can you tell us anything specific about his spending plans? I mean, for instance, has the campaign bought airtime?
I don't know if they've done it yet, but they are definitely planning to spend money in Iowa. And this is normal. We're going into the caucus, and Mr. Trump really wants to get, you know, his vision out there. But more importantly, Mr. Trump's support is solid. This is more to talk to those people who are still undecided. A lot of people in Iowa don't make that decision until they get to that caucus. And so that's really a play for the people that haven't really committed yet.
You know the perception out there, and this is the last one we'll have time for, that the reason he's spending now is he's worried that Ted Cruz's numbers are rising in Iowa, that he wants to maintain the lead. How do you respond to that?
No, absolutely not. Mr. Trump is not worried at all in Iowa. We do have significant support in Iowa and a great team in Iowa. Mr. Trump is only going to spend money there to again, get those last-minute voters, because Iowa is notoriously known for people not voting until they get to that caucus. So this is a play to all those people who are undecided, because his support is solid.
Katrina Pearson, Trump campaign, thanks again.
Good to see you, Jim.
Katrina Pearson, and the founder of the pro-Clinton super PAC, Correct the Record, David Brock. Guys, it's great to see you. Thanks so much. So, Katrina, nice to see you. Katrina, 2 tweets now, not just one, 2 tweets coming from Trump today, both of them warning Clinton in various ways, but he says both times, be careful. What is Donald Trump warning Hillary Clinton about?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious by now that Donald Trump will be the only Republican candidate that will be willing to take Hillary on head-on. And what he's referring to is very simple. You know, no one really complained in 2011 when he used the exact same word to describe a woman winning an election cycle. It was a congressional race, actually. And so all of a sudden, it's horrible. But Hillary Clinton has some nerve to talk about the war on women and the bigotry towards women when she has a serious problem in her husband.
David Brock, Bill Clinton, he's being brought in.
Look, let's just...
That's because he's a serial rapist. He makes Bill Cosby seem like nothing.
Start by saying, you know, let's not talk about Hillary for a minute. What do the Republicans say about Donald Trump? Unhinged, proto-fascist. The Wall Street Journal editorial page today says he has a pathology, a narcissistic personality. That's why he admires Putin, who's also a narcissistic strongman. So I think the question is, what kind of a man, let's forget the partisanship, what kind of a man...
Notice how strongman is a bad thing to these guys, because these guys all... I can't even think of a nice word to put it. I would go on such a tirade. They're these wimpy little mismatched socks fucking children who are only trained to do one thing, and because they're only good at one thing, they think they do that thing better than everyone, and they should tell everyone else how to live their lives, and they know best, and they have a overarching sense of morality attached to them because they're children and they know better than you do because you're an adult. And that's how children act.
Insults, threatens, and degrades women, not just Hillary, Megyn Kelly, Carly Fiorina. I'll tell you what kind of a man that is. That is somebody who is frightened, who is insecure, and is a wuss, who has to act like a bully to make him feel like he's a big man. And I'll tell you what, we're not going to be bullied in this campaign.
See, and here's the thing. It's all projection because it started over Hillary, calling Trump a bigot, and that's see, and this is the difference, is in the leftist worldview, because of the cultural Marxist lens, because they're on this witch hunt, basically, if you are a racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, trans, Islama, xenophobia, whatever, whatever word they're inventing for it, if they can point you as one of those, that's not bullying. Because they're on the witch hunt, so they're just exposing all the witches, basically. But if you say anything else other than that, even if it's the truth, just being like, hey, don't talk about women and your husband's a serial rapist, then you're a bully. You're a mean man.
Well, and let's distinguish between the people that he's talking about, the quote-unquote Republican establishment, who happens to be losing handedly right now. And what's interesting about this notion of being bullied is, I mean, I could think of quite a few women that have been bullied by Hillary Clinton to hide her husband's misogynist, sexist secrets. So we can actually go there, but the thing about Hillary is she does need to be very careful, because in the new CNN poll, it shows that not only Donald Trump, but Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio are statistically tied with women. This is a campaign that was not going to run on the issues. Hillary was going to try to run this wave on being a woman, and it's failing.
David, I want you to jump. I know you lost audio for just a second there, David, but again and again, and this is the warning, the be careful, the coming from Donald Trump. We're hearing it from Katrina. They're going to take on Bill Clinton.
Right. Let them take on Bill Clinton. Look, it's not a Democratic problem.
Oh, I hope so.
We've got a Republican frontrunner. It is sad and pathetic, who not only insults women, is a racist who talks about Mexican immigrants as rapists, who is stoking Islamophobia, which is helping who want to kill us. This is a really dangerous situation, and it's a terrible problem for the Republican Party, because Donald Trump, at the end of the day, is an opportunist.
Oh my God, here's the crazy thing, is these guys are now projecting this reality, and they did this for a while with the whole Donald Trump is helping ISIS recruit, where it's like, okay, well, if you're at war with someone, and you can't be critical of who you're at war with and denounce them and say that they're bad, they're evil, they need to be stopped, what's can you say as the leader of a country that would stop their recruiting? Because it obviously wouldn't be this pussy-ass shitty Obama does, where he's like, ISIL. I mean, first of all, he doesn't even call him the right name. ISIL's like a JV team. Okay, then they go and fucking cause chaos all through Paris. So, is cracking little jokes on them so you seem all cutesy to the public, is that going to stop them from recruiting? Or is actually, like, denouncing them and blowing up their oil fields? I mean, we all know Obama's the leader of ISIS, him and Hillary. It's their proxy army. They use them to do all the militant shit that they can't send American soldiers to do, because American soldiers are onto it at this point. They realize it's imperialism to some extent. So, ridiculous.
He doesn't care about the Republican Party. To him, it's just a casino.
Katrina, well, it's actually a liberal problem, Aaron, because what you have on Hillary Clinton's side are a bunch of people, including women, liberal women, who want to run around talking about the war on women. They want to burn their bras and complain about equal pay and being treated as men. And the second they get criticized for anything, they start acting like 9-year-old little girls. So let's be serious.
Terrible to advocate for equal pay.
Let's talk policy instead of going around trying to call somebody sexist, racist, or misogynist.
Equal pay already exists. If you don't get equal pay, you can sue them. And that's one of the other things. People are so dumb and so unaware of the legal system. And when they say it's oppressive, like, I agree, there are some aspects of it that are oppressive and need lots of reform. But there's a handful of arguments that get made a lot that aren't substantial. Like, black people getting targeted by police for arrest. No one gets arrested for being black. It's not a law. Like, when you have to get sentenced, and there's normally a trial, and I really doubt that at the trial you're going to have the state come out and say, jury, we must hold this man guilty of being black because he is black. Send him away for 20 years. That doesn't happen. I hate to burst the bubble, and if it did, you'd get a lawsuit and you would be set for life afterwards, because that's insane and this country doesn't tolerate shit like that. Same with other forms of discrimination. So it's crazy when we hear these things, because there are laws on the book that can prevent these, and the fact that so many people are unaware of it and duped into these divide and conquer ideas where they think someone's getting over on someone else. Again, oppressor, the oppressed, always that dynamic with these people. They will project that dynamic until they have everyone thinking it's a reality. They're also doing that, I've noticed they're also doing that with the concept that we live in a democracy. We don't live in a democracy, we live in a constitutional republic. But if things end up being a democracy, then it's mob rule. And then, because these guys are a mob and they're unfucking ruly, it will be living like in a socialist hell. Look at that fucking face.
We're not calling, it's what it is.
But I actually
And
want to
it's
ask
not,
you something.
and don't tell me it's politically correct. It's just decent not to walk around saying racist and sexist things.
Now, David, you're doing a very good job speaking for Hillary Clinton, but let me ask you about this fact.
Sure.
In the response coming from Hillary Clinton, first you had the campaign was silent. Then you had the Clinton campaign, a Clinton campaign official send out a tweet saying, we're not going to respond. Fast forward no time at all, almost the same day, Hillary Clinton did respond in that very emotional way. What is the change? What is the decision behind that strategy? If she's not afraid to take Bill Clinton, pardon me, if she's not afraid to take Donald Trump on, what was behind that strategy choice to respond?
Honestly, I don't know, but I'll just say that the things that were said the other night, I was watching live.
We're being a mess.
That the first thing you would say is you're just going to dignify it. But then, look, he's the Republican frontrunner. Your own poll shows that today. He is surging on the basis of a radicalized Republican base, and he is giving voice to their bigotry. And so someone needs to call that out. And I'm glad Hillary Clinton's doing it, and we're going to continue to do it, because certainly the Republicans, who are his opponents, are too weak to really do the job.
Here's the thing to both of you. Neither Hillary Clinton among her base women, she doesn't have a problem with women in her base. Donald Trump also doing very well with women in the Republican base. So in terms of the primary, this doesn't hurt either of these candidates. But what about if they make it to the general, Katrina? You can see the war on women that has been a somewhat successful charge in the past against Republicans. Is that a problem for the Trump campaign in a general?
Well, Kate, I think you're right. This was a problem in the past, mainly because any other Republican would be the quiet, soft person and not want to push back against the liberals or even the media for that matter. That's why this is very different. And just like I stated in the CNN poll, they're statistically tied right now with women. So I don't think this is going to be an issue for Mr. Trump. And more importantly, when we're looking at Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, we have very big policy differences, number one. Number two, we're talking about moving forward. We're not going to be stuck in the 60s. Every time a Republican says anything, Kate, it's either racist or bigoted if they don't like it. And it's just not going to work on a Trump campaign.
David, are you guys out?
Certainly not. In fact,
certainly looks
the misogyny that we see from Donald Trump.
Retrograde misogyny. Like, what the fuck is that? Retrograde misogyny. Like, these guys speak their own language.
It's a Republican fight. We don't have any say over who the Republicans nominate. If they want to nominate Donald Trump, go right ahead and do it. But they're going to alienate, he already has alienated substantial parts of the country. He's put our country...
They're oversensitive bitches.
...for being commander-in-chief. But if the Republicans want to go down that road, if they really hate their leadership and the establishment and what the party stands for, don't talk to me about policy differences. Donald Trump has repudiated Republican ideology on foreign policy, and on economic policy. So we're seeing an implosion of the Republican Party right before our eyes.
I'll tell you guys this
Absolutely.
much.
Donald Trump's policies are very different, and Hillary Clinton oversaw the growth of ISIS, and she also armed ISIS.
Yeah, he's a real big tough man with ISIS, isn't he? He's a real big tough man.
Let me just point this out.
Yeah.
If this does become a general election matchup between Donald Trump and Hillary...
Yeah, I'd rather a tough guy in ISIS than someone who's sending them missile launchers and shit.
Moving right along. Listen to what Donald Trump, speaking of the big event, told Neil on this very program about standing up to China earlier this week. Listen.
Everyone focusing on your 45% tariff idea for China. They're saying that
well,
you're
I don't
not
have a
equipped or
45.
able to offer.
I'm just saying that we have to take a tough stance in China, because I never said, I don't even know where the 45% came from, but I said that is the equivalent of what they've done with respect to their devaluations. But China has to pay a price if they don't start, behaving, because they're killing us on trade.
Well, let's bring in Trump National spokeswoman Katrina Pearson. To start with that, the funny thing, Katrina, he did say that, because we looked after the interview at the New York Times transcript, and Donald Trump himself brought up the 45% number. So what's going on with China?
Well, yes, and I'll tell you that if you look at Mr. Trump's actual China policy paper on his website, the only percentage there is 15%, and that's the corporate tax. This was a discussion that was had during the New York Times editorial board.
Right.
In the discussion of talking about how China's manipulation when it comes to currency as well as subsidies. And if you do add all that up, of course it would be about 25% or 45%. When you look at just this last December, how Commerce has already added a tariff to solar panels coming out of China because of that very same thing.
Well, so just to get it straight, I mean, Jeb Bush came out, and said this is idiotic. That was his quote. But just to get it straight, you stand by the 45% number, so that is the number, the tariff on China?
No, so what Mr. Trump is saying is to make it equal, because he's always talking about fair trade as he is a free trade person. But because of the currency manipulation, on top of the illegal subsidies that's always being discussed with China, it would equal about 45%.
Okay, so that's how you do that. Fair enough. Let me ask you about some of the other issues, because there are a number of them leading into tonight. These questions about Ted Cruz and citizenship, is that sticking? Is that the sense you get?
Well, I think it is, only because the senator just recently renounced his Canadian citizenship, and I think that was a shock to many people. Donald Trump did not bring this topic up. This came up through a Washington Times reporter because there was a Democrat threatening to file a lawsuit. Mr. Trump simply answered a question. The problem here is Senator Cruz went directly at Mr. Trump regarding the issue on Twitter, and so that's why we're talking about this today.
But you think it's having an effect, the idea that people are starting to wonder whether he really could run for president?
Yes, it's having an effect, because you do have people like Lawrence Tribe and others coming out and saying, well, the senator might be a United States citizen, even though being born in Canada, but it's not really settled in the court system. And I think that's what's giving people pause, is because everyone knows the Democrats are going to do whatever they can to hold power in this country, to maintain that power, and filing a lawsuit would be something they could probably do quite easily in this case.
All right, give me one more thing, Katrina, before I let you go, and that's a sense of how you guys internally see Iowa. The polls show it now very close. In fact, as you know, I know Mr. Trump cited the Quinnipiac poll where he's up a couple of points. Some other polls show Cruz up a couple of points. But the bottom line, within the margin, they're very close. And then some people say Cruz, more people as a second choice would pick him, so he's stronger. He's strong with the evangelicals. What do you expect in Iowa right now?
Well, I'll say it again. I'm very confident that Mr. Trump is going to win Iowa. There are so many supporters in Iowa who are going to be caucusing for the first time, who've already gone through the process and are ready. There are disenfranchised Democrats that are supporting Mr. Trump. And we've seen that pretty much across the board, even in other states, when we look at polls of people that are defecting over to Mr. Trump simply because of his economic policies, his immigration policies, and his foreign policy.
Right.
So I'm pretty confident Mr. Trump is going to pull it off in Iowa.
Well, speaking of which, on the immigration, and we're just about to talk about this new Jeb Bush ad, which I don't know if you've seen it. You probably have, going after Mr. Trump as well. Any reaction to either the new Jeb Bush ad, which I'll play for you guys in a second, or this Nikki Haley back and forth really has become a big deal too, right?
Well, kind of. We'll say that it was very odd that Nikki Haley wanted to address Mr. Trump in the State of the Union address, so we're still not quite sure where that came from. But with regards to Jeb Bush, I mean, there is no response required. He can continue to spend tens of millions of dollars and sink in the polls. The Republican Party is just done with Bushes. With respect to Governor Haley, it's interesting because in the state of South Carolina, Mr. Trump has about 40% support in her own state. So the fact that she would take time out of a response that was designed to go against Barack Obama's policies and some of the blatant lies that he told in the State of the Union, she went after the Republican frontrunner, someone who is very well respected and has a lot of support in her own state. So she really insulted her own constituents.
All right, Katrina, thanks. Enjoy tonight. Katrina Pearson with the Trump campaign.
The other thing is it's really funny for them to be trying to make this sexist, racist thing. I wonder if this is the same video. The sexist, racist thing, no, it's a different outfit. When he has a black woman speaking on behalf of him.
I think it's safe to say Donald Trump does not have a high opinion of us in the press. Here's just a taste from a speech in Iowa yesterday.
And you know they all want us to do badly, okay, you know, because the press is unbelievably dishonest. Unbelievably. Most of it. There's some good ones. But most of it. Unbelievably. I could tell you, I think I'll write a book about them when this whole thing is finished. This will be a book.
It's funny to hear him say that because my campaign sources say dozens of people have reached out to the campaign wanting access for books, some for nonfiction books, some for coffee table books. Well, in those books, whether those people get access or not, Katrina Pearson will be a main character. It's her job to work with us in the dishonest media. She is the Trump campaign's now.
One of the things he points out at his campaigns when he talks about them being dishonest is how they never show the room. Unless if there's a heckler, they never show how many people are at the rallies. They always just focus on him.
National spokesperson. Good morning. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Brian. Great to see you.
Let me play the media, okay? Explain to me why people
Play the
like
media.
me don't understand
media.
Donald Trump. What is it the media doesn't get?
Well, first, this is just, human beings. Not every interesting person is universally liked, number one. Number two, you have the media sort of upset and actually whining now because Donald Trump isn't playing by their rules, and these rules don't apply to Democrats. That's the problem people have with the media.
What's an example?
I'll give you a couple. Let me give you a couple of examples, Brian, because we didn't see coverage on CNN wall to wall recently when the administration came out and said they wanted to add biometrics to the vetting process for refugees because guess what? That's going to be in a database. But we did hear for 2 weeks that Donald Trump wants a database for these Muslim refugees, and it was insanity. We don't hear back-to-back coverage on CNN about Hillary Clinton lying to the American public, knowing that we had a terrorist attack in Benghazi, and she blamed an American citizen who made a video. But yet we spent weeks on talking about a head count when Muslims celebrated 9/11. So I think that goes to show the dishonesty in media.
I do think hundreds of hours have been spent covering Benghazi. You just said Muslims celebrated 9/11. Don't you mean a very small number, according to media reports, maybe a handful?
No, I mean radical Muslims celebrating 9/11 in America. And let me talk about just last night.
And you'll see another clip where a bunch of other journalists do this, where because at first they tried to say it didn't happen at all, then it came out that they found the articles that they tried to delete and that it did happen. And they don't want people thinking about that people were celebrating 9/11. And now they try to make it about how many people it was. And if it was 4, if it was 40, you'll see the other clips. But this is them trying to save face, basically.
Video that you were talking about in Iowa. Let's continue with the dishonesty, because MSNBC said that Donald Trump abruptly left the stage from his event in North Carolina, when in fact, the full video is out there on YouTube. He talked for about an hour, took questions and answers from the audience members, and then continued to shake hands and sign books and shirts and hats and everything afterwards. So that's just completely dishonesty in the media.
I did see that last night Trump said that Katie Tur, the NBC correspondent who was there, should be fired. I can't remember another candidate that would call for a reporter to be fired. Did you agree with that call?
Well, you know what I agree with? I agree with there's dishonesty in the media, and if it's your job to report the news and not make it up and you're not doing your job, you should be fired.
Well, what do you view the job of the press to be? Do you believe we should be fact-checking the comments that Mr. Trump makes?
I think the press should be reporting both sides of the stories. I mean, when was the last time you fact-checked Barack Obama? Because we haven't seen that lately. So I think as long as you're doing it fair, it's considered journalism.
Let me ask you.
Okay, so hold on, Brian. So are you telling me that you fact-check global warming as the cause of radical Islamic terrorists? You fact-check that?
I wouldn't say it so vaguely. I would add a lot more caveats to that sentence. But yes, there is some evidence of that. There are some studies.
The California gun control laws, did you fact-check that California gun control laws would have prevented a terrorist attack? Did you fact-check
I'm with you. If you're calling for more fact-checking, I'm with you on that. I think we do need more fact-checking. But let me ask you, we were talking about the CNN poll, 36% support for Mr. Trump. Do you think media and political elites are disconnected from that support? Since our poll showed that he's supercharged by non-college educated voters. Most journalists who are writing stories, who are on television, do have college degrees. So I wonder if you think that's part of the disconnect between the press and the Trump campaign?
No, I think the disconnect are those, because many of us have college degrees too, by the way. The disconnect comes from those elitists who think that they know better than everyone else, like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Or liberals.
Who want to just play this Jedi mind trick and tell everyone what's best for them and that they have everything under control. But the reason why it's not resonating is because, just like your previous guest had on, like Rick Wilson, a GOP consultant who makes millions of dollars off the GOP and suddenly sees the gravy train drying up because you don't get it. And the echo chamber is also not the answer, simply because most conservatives are not watching CNN. The problem we have here is that people are starting to see through the media bias. People know for a fact that the answer to keeping Americans safe is not to disarm them. That's what the media and the elites don't understand.
Well, let me play a portion of Mr. Trump's interview on Bill O'Reilly's show a few days ago. I thought this was striking. Take a look.
Sometimes when you're up there, you get overly excited, and you're speaking extemporaneously. And then you say things, as anybody would, because the crowd is cheering and everything's going wild, that you don't know to be true, but you believe to be true, but you don't know it.
I would love to read speeches off of a teleprompter, but you know what? You don't get the same excitement, you don't get the same feeling, and I haven't made very many mistakes.
Now, I'm partially using a teleprompter here, partially not. I do love that Trump avoids prompters. But what I hear in that exchange is that Trump would rather be exciting than be careful with the truth. Is that fair?
No, I don't think that's fair, simply because when he's talking, he is telling people, you know, what he thinks, believes, and feels. It's not like just like with the whole 9/11 thing, he wasn't reading an intelligence report and then lying about it like the current commander-in-chief and Hillary Clinton do. So he's speaking from the heart, and Americans appreciate that. They don't want these Ivy League people that go around and pay thousands of dollars to be told what they want to hear. They want to hear somebody that's real and true. And the simple fact that Mr. Trump has been around for so long, he knows what he's talking about, he means it, and people want someone that's going to go out there and be real with the American public for a change.
But if you expect honesty from the press, shouldn't we expect honesty from Mr. Trump when there are things that are factually inaccurate that he says? He did say thousands cheered on 9/11 in New Jersey, and that's not true.
Well, can you prove that it's not true?
Yes, I can prove that it's not true because there's absolutely no documentation, there's no video, there's no photos, there's no police reports, there's no crime reports. There's no proof.
There are no police reports? There are no police reports? There are no reports at all, Brian? Are you sure about that? Maybe you should fact check that, and then we'll talk about that next time.
I would like to see them the same way that Donald Trump repeatedly called
former FBI agent confirmed, former New York police commissioner
one
confirmed
random
that there
news
were
report.
reports. That was not one random news report. You had the AP, you had the New York Post. Come on, seriously? This is why the people don't trust the media, because the information is out there for wide range. It is out there, Brian.
That's why this woman is so great, because she's, you know, being professional, but she's basically being like, hey, you dick, have you ever heard of the internet? Like, people know what Google is. They can look for shit.
Don't trust the media.
But the media is the ones that are these random stories you're mentioning at the FBI agent. That's a media report that came from a local TV station. Now, it doesn't really prove anything. It's just one person's claim, but it was a media report. Well, would you acknowledge that the media has played a role in Trump's
I'm
success?
confused now. Are there reports
There
or
are
not reports? 'Cause now
there's a couple of news stories that you all have used to back up a claim that is not
just
true.
One. But you just said one. Now you say a couple. How many is it?
I don't have the exact number. It might be 4, it might be 5.
Okay,
It doesn't
that's
matter
what I thought.
because there's no evidence in any report
it matters.
that there were
matters.
thousands that were cheering. Do you think that?
No, it definitely matters.
Let me pivot because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole when we can't agree on the facts. I do wonder if you would agree, and since the theme of this hour
Because
is
he
about
won't
Trump and
admit
the media,
facts.
whether you would agree that the press has played a role in boosting Trump's campaign through constant coverage. Would you acknowledge we're part of the success?
Well, I think, the media has definitely gone out of their way to cover everything that Trump says, mainly to make him look very negative, which is why it's backfired so much. But, that's with any campaign. But the difference here is in previous presidential cycles, you've had the establishment effectively spend millions of dollars of attack ads to sort of tear down a candidate. And that's not working either. So I really wouldn't give the media all the credit here.
The last question I have for you is this one. It's something that really worries me. When I hear Mr. Trump calling the press unbelievably dishonest, when I hear him calling for a reporter to be fired, he's eroding trust in the press. Now, he's not alone. Other Democratic candidates, other Republican candidates do that too. But he is helping to erode trust in the press. The fourth estate, of course, is the press. So don't you think that might contribute to America?
As if that guy making a remark and then slowly walking back on all of it, as if that wasn't eroding trust right there, right?
America being less great?
Absolutely not. I mean, polls before Trump showed that a lot of people distrust the media
Of
for
course,
a number of reasons.
But he is increasing that distrust.
Well, the media probably should be a little bit more honest if that's the case. I just gave you several examples of how the media has skewed their reporting with regards to Mr. Trump, but it's not just Mr. Trump, it's Republicans in the past. If you look at the media coverage, even from the election of Barack Obama, they've essentially been covering him, not fact-checking anything Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama says. People can now take a look around and realize they have not been told the truth, and the media has not been reporting accurately on practically everything this president has done.
I think we can agree more fact-checking is a good thing. Katrina Pearson, thank you for being here.
Now to some real talk about Donald Trump after the National Review comes out against the Republican frontrunner. Glenn Beck, among the conservatives, trashing Trump, writing this. Trump's potential primary victory would provide Hillary Clinton with the easiest imaginable path to the White House. But it's far worse than that. If Donald Trump wins the Republican nomination, there will once again be no opposition to an ever-expanding government. Katrina Pearson is a national spokesperson for the Trump campaign, and she joins me for Real Talk on The Real Story. Katrina, what is the Trump camp's response?
Well, hi, Gretchen. I believe many people heard Mr. Trump respond to it last night, but I do find it quite interesting that this is obviously a Hail Mary pass to try to thwart Mr. Trump's support in the country. I think we'll also find out that it's going to fail miserably. But it's also been my experience, Gretchen, in politics that sometimes your loudest and most fierce critics on the sidelines, those are the ones that don't really have the courage to get in the ring and run for office themselves. And we see a lot of that happening here, particularly with the corporate conservatives that always seem to have something to say. But I'll also say that if we look at the polls, we see that there is someone that Republicans of all factions have fundamentally rejected, and that's Jeb Bush. So where is the article from the NRO rejecting Jeb Bush? We're not going to see that. Okay. But they are making the exact same arguments that Jeb Bush is making about Donald Trump.
I think what they're saying, and you just heard the interview from Jonah Goldberg, their claim is that Donald Trump is not a conservative, that they can look in the past, recent past, and see that he's changed his views on many of the big issues. And quite honestly, they go on to say that he is an opportunist, he's unmoored politically, a free-floating populist with strongman overtones. They're basically calling...
One of the things I've noticed, and I think I might have mentioned this in the other videos, I don't know anyone that's gone from being conservative to being liberal. I only know people that have gone from being liberal to being conservative, because you look around at, because we've had such a liberal, presidency, Clinton, and even, Bush carried on a lot of social policies and everything like that, that people are just kind of looking around and being like, well, this shit's fucking failing, so let's not do it anymore. But, so, changing your mind on that is a good thing.
Well, of course they are, but again, I'll go back to the NRO in general. I mean, where was the Mitt Romney hit piece? Was Mitt Romney a conservative? I mean, he had poor positions in his past as well. He was the author of what they use now for Obamacare, but we didn't see that hit piece then either. So I think the point here is they are seeing the poll numbers, they are seeing the crowds. They're not happy with Donald Trump because he doesn't use their approved vocabulary and he doesn't use their think tanks to make their talking points. Okay. So this is sort of opportunistic for them. Everyone knows that if you attack Donald Trump, you can sell a magazine. But the reality here is Donald Trump has more Instagram followers than the NRO has subscribers.
All right, let's take a look at what Marco Rubio said about all of this.
I don't think Donald is running as a movement conservative. I don't think he's ever said that. It's clear he's not. I mean, what he's running in is against someone who's a populist, who's upset about the direction of this country, as am I, as are millions of Americans. But we also have to know exactly what we're going to do about it. And so I would just say one of the reasons I feel so strongly about my candidacy is I offer the Republican Party in this campaign, I think we're someone who offers consistent conservatism, real conservatism, but also the ability to beat Hillary Clinton.
All right, and that was one of the criticisms in the NRO piece was that they believe, Glenn Beck specifically, that Hillary Clinton will win in a landslide if your candidate is the nominee. Your response?
Well, I think you can also find out through the wide scope and spectrum of Donald Trump supporters that that's simply not the case. And I just heard Rush Limbaugh talking about today. Donald Trump can win a general election. He's probably the only Republican candidate that could, considering that we now have, with the NRO hit piece, the far left attacking him and now the far right attacking him, which makes him right in the middle for American voters. So I think that's the one thing that this did accomplish, is to show voters now, and I could tell from the support that I've been receiving, that they've had a lot of conservatives actually figure out which camp they're going to go into, because they do want someone that can win. These individuals supported failing candidates in 2008 and 2012. In fact, these corporate conservatives haven't won a popular vote, maybe one, since 1988. Donald Trump can change all of that.
We've had both sides of the story on The Real Story with regard to this. Katrina, thanks much.
And that's a good way of looking at it, that the attacks from the far Republicans and the Democrats show that he is more straight down the middle than most of them. Here's my favorites, the young Marxists.
This is a spokesman for the Trump campaign talking with S.E. Cupp, and her response to concerns about what this represents is awesome in its simplicity.
There's no constitutional requirement to allow anyone to immigrate to the United States, and there's already U.S. laws on the books giving Congress the authority to ban immigration from nations that are hostile towards America. So this is really nothing new. And Mr. Trump doesn't really care what ISIS thinks or ISIS wants.
That woman looks like a chubbier, ugly blonde. Kind of got this Katy Perry thing going on. But you ever notice the people she's talking to carry themselves in such a way where they look condescending?
All he cares about is the American public.
It's not nothing new, as you say. There really is something new to the idea of banning an entire religious group from entering the country as a pause or temporary.
I want to point out that this isn't just, first of all, we're not even talking about our immigration process. We're talking about taking in refugees, like going over to the country and saying, we're going to import you, like an X amount of you guys, like it's, oh, I don't know, like the African slave trade all over again. Like we've decided we need to throw 10,000 of these people from Africa onto a boat and bring them over to America and then install them into these small towns. But they stay in camps first, and this is the funny thing about comparing Trump to Hitler. He's the only candidate that doesn't want to take people from another country and put them in internment camps. What did Hitler do with the Jews? Oh, he put them in internment camps. So Hillary wants these people in camps. Obama wants these people in camps. And it seems like most of the public that's against Trump's immigration ideas want these people in camps. So I have valid reason why I call all of these leftist Nazis. They want people in camps. So how, though, the person that said is, well, we should make them a refuge in their own country, we should make it closer to home, this, and that, no need to uproot them and bring them halfway across the world. How is that person like Hitler? I have no idea. But here, I mean, she named the laws, she says where in the past we've done it, and they still just keep saying, this can't be done, there's no precedent. And this is the projecting of reality. It can't be done, it can't be done. And Trump even says, China built a wall that's even bigger, even taller, many, like years ago. So the idea that it can't be done is insane. They couldn't do it. They couldn't imagine doing it.
Early as it may be, that is new. That is not who we are. That's not what we do.
Never in United States history have we ever allowed insurgents to come across these borders, and it's worse now today.
No one's talking about allowing insurgents. You're talking about not allowing
is leading it.
And this is again the crazy thing is. It's importing people from a country we are at war with. It's not like when we went to war with Germany, we started importing tens of thousands of Germans. When we went to war with Japan, we put the Japanese that were here in camps. And yes, that was frowned upon, but we didn't go importing Japanese during that war. When we went to war with Afghanistan, we were not importing Afghani people. So her trying to say it like, oh my God, she's insane, and look at how insane she looks.
We're Muslims. That's what you're talking about. No one's talking about insurgents. Who wants insurgents
from
to
Arab
come over?
nations. You know what? So what? They're Muslim. The
So
issue
what?
here is that
That's
if you're
not the
not
America
trying
we
to
live in, Katrina.
No, it is. But it is, SE.
I'm not sure I've heard a more fascist comment than, so what? They're Muslim.
Can I get
Now, and this Cenk's a fucking moron because he doesn't realize fascism is the merger of corporate powers and government. It's basically the fact that Monsanto is our Department of Agriculture, that's fascism. General Electric is our Department of Energy, that's fascism. So the idea that fascism even has something to do with race or racial intolerance is completely wrong. Cenk's a moron. I mean, and this is the whole thing, is look at them. They have these gotcha moments where, because they're on their witch hunt. Their whole show is nothing but a witch hunt. So then we go, oh, that's fascist. No, it's not. And she brings up a valid point. The fact that they are Muslim is irrelevant. The fact that we are at war with their country and wanting to import them is relevant. The Muslim thing is a side note, but it has to be people from that area. First off, there are people from other countries that actually want to come here, that want to be American, and are on waiting list. I mean, that's it. It was an issue of illegal immigration. Now it's like we are so far past illegal immigration. We're basically subsidizing immigrants. It is insane.
So what? They're Muslim.
That's unbelievable. I know now nothing's unbelievable because there's nothing that Donald Trump couldn't say, wouldn't say, his spokespeople wouldn't say.
Yeah.
So imagine you're trying to ban any other group, right?
I know, yeah.
So, like, okay, common example we use. Okay, I want to ban all Jews from the country. And the spokesperson comes out, so what? They're Jews.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what? That's
what?
crazy.
They're
You can't
Hindus.
say that. You can't say that, right?
Yeah.
And she just comes on CNN and
amazing.
goes, so
Yeah.
what? They're Muslim.
I saw it was a great...
See, and that's the whole thing, is they're not looking at this as far as Syria being in a civil war, because the war with Libya, that was nothing to them. The war with Syria, that's irrelevant to them. Like, they act as if there isn't a war going on with these countries, and like, we're just like, oh yeah, there's just a large group of Muslims that want to come here on a vacation, and they're deciding to stay, like, so detached from reality just so that they can have their witch hunt.
I think it was a Facebook post. It might have been a tweet. It was a two-step test that you should have every time you say something if you're Donald Trump. It's step one, change out any instance of Muslim for Jew. And step two, do you sound like a Nazi?
No, but by the way...
Yes, you sound like a goddamn Nazi.
No, but the thing is, that's not a good test for Trump.
And meanwhile, these are the ones that support socialism, though, which actually is Nazism.
He's also anti-Semitic. So it's
That's
not
true.
like,
That's true.
So like when he spoke to the Republican Jewish coalition, he kept saying over and over, you know, I'm a good negotiator. This room would know better than any how to negotiate, right?
You people.
And you people like to renegotiate. You know what I mean, right? I mean, these are terrible stereotypes, and stereotypes lead to worse things, and then they lead to this, right?
Yeah.
So when he came for the Muslims, he didn't do anything. When he came for
like stereotyping as sexist, racist, bigot, homophobes isn't doing the exact same thing. No, because you're on this moral, self-righteous witch hunt.
Mexicans, you didn't do anything, and he's already come for them.
Yeah.
Okay, when he came for black people, like Black Lives Matter and that guy who got assaulted during his rally, you didn't do anything. You think he's not going to come for you?
Yeah, because when some guy is causing a ruckus at his rally, fucking Donald Trump should do a flying elbow drop like he's Hulk Hogan from the podium into the crowd and attack the heckler himself, and then break the whole thing up and sit down and decide who started it and make them shake hands and everyone get along before he goes back to talking. Right?
Now this. Donald Trump said on this program that he would consider closing mosques. Roll that tape. closing some mosques. Would you do the same thing in America?
I would do that. Absolutely. I think it's great. I know they have a lot of proposals over there. If you go out, you go fight for ISIS,
Can you do it?
you can't come back. Why can't you do it? You can do it
close
here.
a mosque? I mean, we do have
Well, I
religious
don't know. I
freedom.
mean, I haven't heard about the closing of the mosque. It depends. If the mosque is, loaded for bear, I don't know. You're going to have to certainly look at it.
Okay, that's what Donald Trump had to say on this program. And by the way, yesterday we had news that France has closed, in Paris, 3 mosques. Closed them. Trump spokeswoman Katrina Pearson is with us now. Katrina, welcome back to the program. Good to have you.
Good morning. Great to see you.
Would Donald Trump want to walk back his comments on mosques at all? Because constitutionally, you cannot close a mosque in America.
Constitutionally, and here's the thing, is through the tax code and religious organizations being tax exempt and then revoking their tax exempt status and then thus making them have to pay all the bills and not being able to afford it, you easily could. They shut down churches like this all the time. So him saying you can't do it, again, isn't true. They have an asshole way of doing it that they do to plenty of people, though.
Well, Stuart, I'm not really sure you'd walk it back. I think what you would do is add the word radicalized, simply because the 3 mosques that were closed in France were radicalized mosques. I mean, it's the same thing we saw in Boston with the Boston bombers. That mosque was founded by terrorists and had pushed terrorists. One of the board members of that mosque were terrorists. So if you are a convicted terrorist that started a mosque, chances are that's not a very safe mosque. And in this country, the Clarion Project has put out a map of where 80 radicalized mosques are in this country, and there's upwards of 21 to 2,200 mosques in this country. So not every mosque, but just those that are spawning terrorism in this country.
Now, has Donald Trump said anything today about the events of yesterday? And if so, what did he say?
Well, he's been talking about, the prayers being with the families and really praising law enforcement in their efforts. I mean, it was quite nerve-wracking. I'm sure we'd all agree when, these guys just disappeared.
Katrina, hold on a second. You said that Donald Trump offered his prayers for the victims. We should pray about the situation. Let me show you the cover of the New York Daily News today. This is what greeted
Yeah, and this shows you how disgusting these people are.
New Yorkers, Donald Trump included. God isn't fixing this. They're mocking the prayers offered by Republican candidates for the victims. What are your thoughts on that headline there in light of what Donald said this morning?
I mean, it's really tragic that is how the American media is responding to this type of tragedy. But it's also not surprising, Stuart. I mean, this is definitely a growing issue in this country, which is one of the reasons why Mr. Trump is so successful with the public right now. Americans can see now, Republicans and Democrats alike, that Americans are under attack by their own media, and they just put it on the front page.
One of the reasons, and I've said this on this program today, one of the reasons why Mr. Trump is popular is because he says it. He's not always careful in his choice of words, but he says it. Meanwhile, for the last hour and a half on this program, we've had people dancing around as to whether we can say it's Muslim terror, Islamic terror, workplace violence. I mean, I could see Donald Trump going right at it and saying, this is what it is, and that's why he's popular. I'm not endorsing Trump. I'm trying to point out that kind of clear thinking and clear statements of what you're really on about, that's attractive.
Well, it is, because, like I said, this is something that has been stewing among Americans for a very long time, and we've seen politicians over and over again sort of just mull around the issue. I mean, people sat pretty quiet when we had, right here in Texas, the Fort Hood shooting. That was not workplace environment. It's insane where America has come today with this particular issue, considering everything that we're facing, and now we're having more Syrian refugees being brought in, and Obama's calling this an American value. The reason why Donald Trump is resonating is because the American public doesn't recognize its country anymore because of these values these politicians have been putting on us for so long.
Katrina Pearson, we appreciate you being with us today. Thank you very much indeed. Now, one last question. Are you anticipating a major statement or a video of some sort from Donald Trump later on today about California?
I suspect Mr. Trump would definitely speak out on this. I mean, this is something that's close to his heart, as we all know. A lot of these things wouldn't even be as hot of a topic without Mr. Trump being in this race. So I expect him to continue to discuss this for the families.
Katrina, thank you very much indeed. We appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Now this. Donald Trump.
All right. And I think I'm going to split this into 2 videos and call it a night. So that will be part 1 of the anti-Donald propaganda and his spokeswoman and how the media has tried to go into these attacks. So I'll do part 2 tomorrow, and I hope everyone enjoyed.